I did decide, when I was a kid, I was like, I want to be either an actress, an author, or an artist. And then I ended up choosing artist when it was time to, graduate from high school and pick a career. I did graduate from the Art Institute of Chicago way back in 1988. I really love so many mediums. I've always been good at watercolors. I love the translucent layers, and I love the immediacy of it. Everything that's intuitive about dipping a paintbrush in the water. You grab a certain size brush, but then you have only so much water, and then you get how much color you want, and you might dip it into a different color and then put it on the paper or mix it on the paper and let the color, flow. It's like all those decisions that just come naturally, or just, you're not really thinking about them in one side of the brain. It's just like in the back. So I like it to be immediate. I used to do some oil painting, but then when I had children, it was too hard to clean up. Like once I get set up, and then they would wake up from their nap and like, time to clean up. So so I basically switched from oils to all water-based mediums. I love working with people, and I love painting people. I love capturing their likeness and kind of telling a story. And so I've done a lot of, commissioned portraits and things like word of mouth. And I have 3 children, and I was painting up through the second one, and then I'm like, okay, this is just too much. I can't do it. We moved to Wisconsin, and I was saying I was feeling really lonely. I was missing Chicago, and I was missing the diversity and the open ideas, and everyone was friendly in Oconomowoc. But my midwife said, you should check out the Prairie Hill Waldorf School. They have a lot of artists. I've delivered a lot of babies there. And so we did. And my children were there, and I had my youngest in the sling, but to tie-dye silk scarves for the play silk they have at Waldorf. And I remember just like, oh my gosh. I just loved it. I'm like, I'm back. I'm playing with color, and it was something you could do with an infant, because you just, you tie it, and then you dip it in one color, and then you go nurse him, and then you come back, you check it, and you dip it in another color, so. And then I remember just taking it, the silk, unwrapping it. It was so fun, and ironing it, and just like loose. So it wasn't the kind of like, planning a painting or getting a likeness, and I hadn't been able to get into that headspace of doing a painting and planning it all out. And so one of my most recent mediums is fiber, and I learned some of it in college, and then left it, but the Waldorf school brought it back because they teach the kids needle felting and wet felting. And then I always thought it was like painting, only without paint. So it was like this weird, it would look like a painting, but it was with fuzz, like instead of, then the challenge of mixing colors by, layering and then getting the light and dark. But then I ended up getting sculptural. So in 2010, I portrait in wool. I thought, I'm just gonna try this, and I got this great likeness, and and I was playing with the cello strings, with thread, and it was a nice coming together of all my mediums in this new medium. But I still have this one I titled Cello Mellow. I love watercolors, but I also, sometimes I look and I think, I see it in oil, or I can appreciate, I feel like I'm always painting in my head, which sometimes where I don't have my supplies, like I'm laying in bed, I'm looking out the window, I'm like seeing certain light and dark and colors. I love the way colors are. I love the dressing with, opposite colors, and thinking of that. I guess, like what I love about making art is getting into that groove where I trust my senses, and I don't have to think in a linear fashion, and then I can just way things come together. Like I usually put music on. It's so hard for me sometimes to get into the studio because I'm like, it's so messy. Like I need to clear a space first. But once I'm there, like if I turn some music on or just start poking away at something I'm working on, or if I'm painting, it might take me a long time to get into it. But then once I get into it, I can't. It's like seems like it's never enough time. Like, oh no, it's time to clean up. Well, I think that's basically it. I do want to create. I love working big because I like to use my whole body. I think dancing has really changed my idea. Like, okay, actually I am coordinated. The dancing for exercise, but now it's like really the only exercise I love, because I hate running. because then you just like listening to your head, all the negative speak. But dancing, you have music, you have the memorization, but you're moving your body artfully to music. I mean, I'm not going to be a dancer as a career or anything, but I think it totally keeps me young. So sometimes I think, well, like, how can I, should I get into, there's some sort of performance art or something? Like, how do I bring all my mediums together? I mean, yeah, sometimes I'm just like, oh, I need to focus. Yeah, there's something about the whole brain. Teaching art is really important. It's not just a niche. Sometimes public schools or even private schools, but like sometimes people think that, oh, only artists, talented artists are artists, like that should be. But I really think that we all need math and reading. Like there's certain parts of your brain and we all need to learn how, physical ed, stop dividing everything. I would recognize how one thing affects the other, like how you can, and you have different learners too. So I've always been a public school advocate, and I think a free public school is like so important for a healthy society. And recognizing that we're all human and the things we have in common, and also our differences are not to be colorblind, but to be enjoying our similarities and our differences and the different ways we learn. If you integrate, stories into math and colors or music into math or movement into literature, like there's just, if you integrate it, you're going to reach more people. And then it's also easier to remember and to really absorb and learn. Thinking back to my youth, that you allow yourself that space to breathe, and we all have our strengths, but don't pigeonhole yourself into one area. It's like that you can use your strengths to learn, and you can use your weaknesses to learn about strengths that so many people might write off art. I can't draw. Everything that you do, I think it's more like what you have the desire drive you through the fear of I'm not good at that. So I think some kids have more desire in certain areas, and your dreams, dare to try new things. I mean, community is such a word because it could mean your neighbors, your town that you live in, or it could mean the community that you create by your interests, or really strong community of Prairie Hill Waldorf School when my kids went to elementary school. And then I also survived breast cancer when my kids were still in elementary school. That community really rallied around. They organized a meal train, and it was so healing. I've also reached out for more community, which is why I sought out Walker's Point Center of the Arts. I also sought out Marne, going to Milwaukee, because I miss that city feel of Chicago and Milwaukee, and just that I love that energy of a big city. I seek more diverse community and open ideas and creating together. So Marne and Walker's Point, and so it's not just about trying to get more exposure, just to be able to exhibit, get my work out there, but it's also just meet new people and meet other artists, and yeah, I want to keep growing. Like I said, I'm a really new member, and what drew me was I didn't really know what Walker's Point Center of the Arts was, even know that it was had a youth education, and I love that, finding out that it does. So sanctuary where people can come and learn and just be and create and grow and explore. Boundaries can create some freedom, because it gives you a little bit of focus, but then you can explode the boundaries, go run with it. It's just awesome for kids, for the community to have, for adults and kids.